Now, President Obama gave I think, a wonderful speech last Friday about how African Americans might have a different perspective on the Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman situation than other members of the American family. And he wanted to explain why, and that even though he's the President of the United States of America, he also experienced these type of things as, you know, he was working himself up the ranks and people locking the door when he comes by and following him around the store, etc. And I thought it was a powerful speech and a very good one. And we knew that he was going to take heat from Fox News, and of course he did. And although it hasn't been very vehement, and as we've told the president over and over, if you just do the right thing, it'll work itself out. You don't have to worry that much about Fox News. In this case, he didn't. He was brave, and we got good results. But apparently, Tavis Smiley and Cornel West still not quite buying it, still saying not enough. First, let's go to Tavis Smiley.
He did not walk to the podium for an impromptu address to the nation. He was pushed to that podium. A week of protest outside the White House, pressure building on him inside the White House, pushed him to that podium. So I'm glad he finally arrived. But when he left the podium, he still had not answered the most important question, that Kingian question: where do we go from here? That question this morning remains unanswered, at least from the perspective of the president.
All right. Now, normally I agree with Tavis Smiley and Cornel West on these issues, but not on this one. He actually did address that. I watched the whole thing. President Obama laid out 3 different things we should do going forward and how we can begin to address these issues. And pushed to the podium, I was really surprised he went to the podium. I don't know who was pushing him. I mean, normally the establishment in Washington pushes him back. They're like, you're going to talk about race? You're black. You're not allowed to talk about race. People will say, oh, you're making it racial, etc. And there's a ton of pressure not to do that. He overcame that pressure. It was one of the braver speeches he's given. So I'm really not seeing the criticism here. Now, Cornel West is going to take it a little further.
You see it with Brother Sharpton. Sharpton probably deep down wants to be critical of the president, but he can't because he's still on the Obama plantation. So he can't say a mumbling word no matter how radical he wants to act and enact, as it were. And deep down in his soul, I think he really does feel a fire, but he can't allow that fire to in any way spill over toward the White House. Why? Because he's still too tied. He's too uncritical. He's too deferential. He's too subservient.
Now, he's referring here to the fact that President Obama has not yet called for a federal investigation to make sure that they relitigate the Zimmerman case, but at the federal level based on civil rights violations. Now, I think they're being totally unreasonable in that request, and I'll tell you why. It's not unreasonable for outsiders to demand that, but it's unreasonable for the president to step up and say, I'm going to make the Justice Department do that, when they're supposed to be separate entities, when the Justice Department is supposed to pursue that if they think it makes legal sense. I think that would definitely be overstepping the bounds. Now, to ask Obama to do more than the speech that he gave, well, it seems like they're saying, well, he should definitely make sure there's a federal case. And I don't think that's the role of the president. Now, you see there that Cornel West is criticizing, I was about to say Brother Sharpton, as he would say, Al Sharpton, because he's saying Al Sharpton normally would be pressing for a federal case, but since it's the Obama administration that's going to make that decision, and they might make the decision in the reverse, Sharpton is not pressing on that. Well, look, then that might be a fairer point. I wouldn't phrase it as Cornel West did. I don't have the standing to be able to phrase it the way that he did about being on Obama's plantation, etc. But we do know Al Sharpton, of course, historically, and has told 60 Minutes literally that he will not criticize the president for anything. So Sharpton probably is a little torn on this issue. But again, I think West and Smiley are overreaching overall. Now, when you go to a larger issue that Cornel West wants to talk about, this in relationship to foreign policy, he makes a really incendiary point, but here I might agree with him more. Let's watch.
I was glad to see him bring it in. He said we must never rationalize killing innocent people in the name of self-defense. Now, then I thought about our drone policy, which makes us the George Zimmerman of the world in terms of killing innocent folk in the name of self-defense. But he's absolutely right. Self-defense must never be used as a way of downplaying the precious lives of innocent people.
So David Siro wrote an article comparing President Obama roughly to Zimmerman in the sense that, hey, Zimmerman uses the self-defense claim like, what could I do? I thought I was in jeopardy. Now, when we hit innocent civilians with drone strikes, the U.S. government and President Obama says, well, what could we do? We were worried that they were going to hit us, so we acted in self-defense, and we happened to kill some innocent civilians, and that they didn't admit for a long time, but they do now. Now, when David Sirota did that, people's hair went on fire. All Obama loyalists were on red alert. In fact, Bob Cesca flat out called him a racist. Glenn Greenwald threw my name in there as well. Well, if you oppose President Obama, well, what's the logical conclusion? Now, Sirota had talked about, the loss of innocent brown people. I don't, brown, black, white, to me, that's not relevant, but in the drone strikes, etc. And somehow Cesca and the Obama loyalists turned that around, like, how dare you talk about brown people when we have an African-American president, hence you must be, but what do you, wait. Go to the substance of the argument, and here Cornel West is making the argument. Are you going to accuse Cornel West of being racist? I wouldn't put it past him. I mean, Obama must be defended at all costs. And what they're trying to say is, it's not about smearing Obama. It's not about saying, okay, we agree with, again, all the Obama lawyers. You once agreed with Rand Paul on drone strikes. If Rand Paul said it, it must not be true because Rand Paul's a racist and everybody who opposes Obama is a racist. But Cornel West is saying, wait, we kill innocent civilians in our drone strikes and we use the argument of self-defense. Now, is that a good argument, or should we look into our soul about that and see if we're doing the right thing, the moral thing? And he uses this as an analogy. I actually think that's perfectly fair. Now, again, I think the president has done a lot in this Trayvon Martin situation to bring the country together, to educate the country in terms of the different perspectives and have us listen to one another. I don't have any complaints with how the president has handled this, whether it's, I don't even know what the right-left perspective here is, but I think that President Obama has played it just right. So I don't agree with Smiley and West on that. But when they ask us to look at what we do, whether it's President Obama, the whole United States government, et cetera, in terms of what we do in quote-unquote self-defense in our foreign policy, and the hundreds of civilians that have been killed in our supposed self-defense, that's got to be a fair point. I can't even see how you say that's not a fair point. How many Trayvons have we killed? Do they not count because they're from a different country? Do they not count because they're Muslim and they were from the general region, as Dick Cheney said, where terrorism came from? Remember, they're civilians, they're innocent. And of course, the US government would say, oh, but war is hell. By the way, you did not declare war on Pakistan or Yemen, so I don't know how you get to make that claim. But anyway, war is hell, and so we had to kill all those people. Why? To defend ourselves. Well, that does sound pretty similar to what Zimmerman said.